there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, if you're watching this on social media, check it out on YouTube, check out my channel, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to get notifications when videos upload. So I wanted to talk a bit today about how I cope with living with a life-limiting illness and what makes my life the way it is, how I cope with day to day with my needs, and so on and so forth. So let's go back a bit to the beginning. So as a baby I had a lot of problems. So with my bowel, I used to have a colorectal nurse come in 3 times a week. I had reflux problems. I used to see people about my eyes. I used to see a podiatrist about my feet. I had septic arthritis in my right hip, which was found to be dislocated at about 2 years, but luckily I managed to miss out on a spica cast, or avoid it I should say, rather than miss out, which was fortunate. But I was the type of child that I just got on with everything, so no one ever kind of tried to connect the dots and work out what was going on. So once I started school, really, the colorectal nurse stopped coming in because the bowel treatments we were doing weren't really making a difference. So that stopped when I went to school. I just got on with life. Always had weak muscles, so I was quite a floppy baby. You know, I met my milestones late, and I always struggled physically compared to my peers. But fortunately I was able to live a relatively normal life. You know, I went to school, I did hobbies and activities, I used to enjoy swimming, I used to play instruments. I learnt to play the drums, and then I learnt to play the piano. I enjoyed horse riding, although I fell off a lot because my muscles were weak. But I was always needing help with things, so like I was never able to wash, brush or tie up my own hair, so my mum always had to do that for me. And the older I got as a child, you know, 8, 9, 10, I was needing help with other tasks, and I couldn't go up and down the stairs like most days because I just couldn't stabilise myself, and I found it difficult, so I'd go up and down on my bottom. And there were all these little things. And at the age of 10 I was referred for physiotherapy by my wonderful GP, who noticed that there was something going on. So she referred me on to a rheumatologist initially, who did a blood test for rheumatoid arthritis, found that I didn't have that, and so, you know, remarked about the hypermobile joints and the weak muscles, and sent me for physiotherapy. And my wonderful physiotherapist John, who made physio fun in a way that physios can't normally, so he used to talk to me about horses, and I never really felt like I was doing medical treatment when I was doing physio with him, but he kept taking my mum aside and saying there's something really not right here. No matter how physically active Lucy is, her muscles are very weak, and no matter how much she does the physiotherapy that I set her, her muscles are getting weaker and not stronger. So there was like this inkling that something wasn't quite right. And as I moved into my early teenage years, things were progressing at a rapid rate. I was needing help with more and more tasks. I was struggling to do my hobbies and activities. You know, I sometimes come home from the stable and say, Mum, can you cancel my lessons this week? I just can't do it, which was completely unheard of because horses were my life. And then at the age of 14, it was just like all the problems that I'd had growing up just came to a head, and I became a wheelchair user, quickly became bedbound. I developed multiple organ failure. At 15 started tube feeding. At 16 I started catheterising to empty my bladder, and then despite the tube feeding via my NG, and then a PEG, and then a jejunostomy, or PEG-J, the jejunostomy tube in it, even with that and that massive calorie support and drug treatments, my gut just couldn't digest or absorb the feeds. Even though some of them were semi-elemental, so they were already broken down, I just wasn't tolerating and absorbing those feeds. So at 17 I nearly died from malnutrition and was really, really ill for quite a long time. But they put me on TPN, and the consultant at the time then said to my mum, you know, Mum thanked him for saving my life and put me on TPN, and he said, you know, I don't know if we've left it too late. Lucy is so severely malnourished and has been left so long that we don't know if she's going to be able to tolerate this nutrition and survive. But fortunately I did, and I'm still here, you know, 8, nearly 9 years later. So at 17 I went on total parenteral nutrition, TPN, which is intravenous feeding given via a line directly into the bloodstream, the tip of which sits just inside your heart. So I've got a line on my chest here, it goes up into a vein in my neck, down, and the tip just sits inside my heart. And then at 18, I had an ileostomy or a stoma formed, so the end of my small bowels brought out to the surface of my abdomen, and I wear a bag to collect waste. Then at 19, I had a suprapubic catheter placed, which is a permanent or semi-permanent catheter that is inserted directly through the abdominal wall into the bladder, and that's drained to drain the urine, so I had that. And then at 21, the day after my 21st birthday, I had a urostomy or an ileal conduit formed, which is where they use a piece of bowel, cut it free from the digestive tract, and use it to form a tube between your kidneys and ureters and the surface of your abdomen. So the urine goes from your kidneys through the tubes called the ureters into that piece of bowel and out onto a bag on my abdomen. So my bladder is completely bypassed, it's redundant, it's basically just full of infection and pus and God knows what else, but they didn't think I'd survive removing it. And also because of the ileostomy, my colon is also completely bypassed and redundant. So neither of those are in use. My TPN means that I have basically what is the nutritional equivalent of life support, so it does the job of an organ that can't function for itself. I then also have a gastrostomy tube, so my feeding peg that I used to feed through was turned into a venting peg when I went on TPN, so it drains my stomach of the acid and bile and anything I drink, and also some things I eat if I fancy it. So I've got a lot of complex medical needs, and at the age of 16, someone in my team said to us that they didn't think I was going to live a very long time, and in fact might not or probably wouldn't make my 18th birthday. When I did make my 18th birthday, my next prognosis was that I wouldn't live beyond my early 20s, and here I am at the age of 26 with a lot of living yet to do, the grand old age of 26, but I'm living on basically borrowed time. I wasn't supposed to live this long. I've got so many problems, so as well as the organ failure, I've got problems affecting my bodily systems and organs, so my pancreas, my liver, my lungs, which have got very weak muscles. There's so many different things going on, but I also have 4 chronic incurable infections which could equally end my life at any time and make me quite poorly on a regular basis. And I've also survived sepsis 14 times, so I'm not doing too badly. And that 14 times of sepsis does not include the hundreds of other infections I've had that have been caught before that point. So I'm really lucky to still be here. And I have very complex medical needs, so day to day I'm hooked up to intravenous drips at least 21 hours a day. I have regular IV medications given via my line throughout the day. I have my peg to empty and the dressings to change. I've got my stoma bags to look after, and I have 24-hour care at home, and 16 hours of that is provided by an intensive care nurse, 8 hours overnight with a trained carer, and then 6 hours double up care during the day with a trained carer who supports the nurse with hoisting, washing, dressing, the tasks that take 2 people to support me. And I've been supported by a fantastic hospice since I was 17. They're a young adult hospice at home service. I've also been under an NHS palliative care team since I was 17, and my NHS teams and the hospice and the palliative care team have worked really, really hard over the years to manage my symptoms and improve my quality of life, and I'm very fortunate that their hard work does pay off. I do have a relatively good quality of life considering everything I deal with. But how do I cope with my life-limiting illness? Well, I've always been one to just get on and do things and live life to the fullest, and I always just try and make the best of what I've got. That's all what I've always done, do what you can with what you have for as long as you have it and make the most of it. That's basically my motto for life. But it does get me down quite a lot, and I find distraction, so I use distraction all the time to cope. It's not denial, I don't deny what's happening, but I distract myself from it. If I'm busy in work and projects and doing things and editing videos and so on and so forth, I'm not thinking about the pain. It's not that the pain's not there, the pain is still there, but my brain has been tricked into forgetting that it's there. So although I'm still in pain, my brain is not focused on that pain. But it also helps me cope with other things. So if I'm busy in work and not in, like, getting on with stuff, and my brain is taken away from thinking about life and health and prognosis and things like that, I'm not thinking about how bad things are or the reality of the situation. I can almost forget about it for a little while and just get lost in this world of work and support and helping and doing different tasks, and that is a big part of how I cope. A big part of how I cope is my fantastic mum, who does so much for me, and my sister, who we have a right laugh with all the time. I mean, me and my sister, once we get going, are really quite a double act. And of course my assistant's dog Molly, who was trained by me with help from the charity Dog Aid to assist me. She provides tasks such as picking up dropped items, helping with undressing me, fetching help in an emergency, so many other tasks, but she also alerts me 3 hours before I spike a temperature, which is quite late on in my infection presentation, which gives us chance to get to London for treatment if I'm septic, for example, and it's undoubtedly saved my life. But it's not only that, but it's the social side of things. You know, she's always there to support me. The more help I need from her, the better. So when you're constantly saying to human carers, sorry, I've dropped this again, sorry, can you just, whereas with Molly, the more help I need, the better the game is. So it turns needing help on its head a little bit. You know, the more support I need, the better it is for my assistance dog. So that's how I cope as well. And also doing things that I enjoy and that I love, but also my work. My work is a huge part of my life. That's working with charities, sitting on committees, doing media work, writing, doing speeches, you know, going to events and conferences, supporting training of staff. So many different tasks that I do that I've built up into a form of career over the last 9 years are really important to me. They help me cope. I'm able to turn my situation into something positive for someone else. I can make a difference to the lives of other people with illnesses and disabilities and their carers and their families. But also I can enlighten and educate professionals, especially healthcare professionals. You know, I work very closely with the NHS to improve patient care and also to improve the training of professionals in the NHS. And it's a wonderful thing to think that no matter how bad my life gets, I can always turn my lived experience into something positive for other people. And I just want to make the best of this life. When I was 17 and I was first under the hospice, we did my first advanced care plan, which is an end-of-life plan. And my hospice nurse and I had been sitting and going through everything and talking about my wishes. Did I want CPR? And at the time I did, and filling out, you know, other documents. And then before the end of her visit, Bev turned to me and she said, "So what do you want to do now?" No one up to that point had ever asked me what I wanted. No one had ever asked me what I wanted to do or achieve, and then suddenly someone was telling me that I could do anything that I wanted to do, and what did I want to do, and, you know, think about your life. And while we were talking to Bev, whilst I was taken aback by that question initially, I suddenly blurted out this unconscious need that I hadn't even recognised, and I just said, I want to make a difference. I don't want to die and be forgotten, and for nothing to be different or better because of me, and my life not to have meant anything. You know, I really want to make a difference. And Bev, my hospice nurse at the time, she helped me do some filming for the hospice, and the journalist that did that filming then helped me start my blog. But I wanted more. I really felt like I wanted more. And then Bev, my nurse, found out that Together for Short Lives were looking for a young person to speak at their reception in the House of Commons and put me forward. And despite never having given a speech before, and up till that point a speech being my idea of an absolute worst nightmare, I accepted this role, and I wrote my speech, and I went up to the House of Commons and I delivered that speech not very well, reading off my paperwork, no engagement with the audience. But I looked up after finishing that last sentence and saw the entire room erupt into applause, and that it was like I'd found my new purpose. I'd found why I was on this planet. I could make a difference for other people, and over the years since then I've built up a large career, and I've got an MBE and I've got an honorary master's degree, and just in 2019 I was named as the 9th most influential disabled person in Britain, which is, I still can't quite get my head around that, even though it's been 4 or 5 months since I found out. And I try and make the best of what I've got to live my life fully and to contribute something to the world around me. And also last year my voluntary work turned into paid work, and I'm now a self-employed individual doing services for businesses, charities, organisations, for different clients, and directly for individuals, providing PHB or personal health budget brokerage, care package support and independent advocacy. My speaking skills, healthcare professional training, so many different things that make my life full and enjoyable and busy. I'm a person that needs to keep busy. I need things to do. I can't just sit around day after day and do nothing. I am very fortunate that despite my physical limitations and my physical energy difficulties, I actually have a lot of mental energy. I'm always on the go, my brain is always firing, I'm always wanting the next thing to do and the next thing to do and the next thing to do and the next thing to focus on, the next project, the next goal. So keeping busy really helps me, and I get a lot of energy from the work I do that helps me complete all the tasks that I complete. Not everyone has the same level of mental energy, but for me that on the go, busy all the time is another way that how I cope. And I just cope by supporting other people. You know, if I can help them, if something I've experienced can benefit someone else, and that the knowledge that when I reach the end of my life and I'm on my deathbed, I can say my life meant something. I contributed to the world around me. I made a difference. And whilst awards are wonderful, no amount of awards can give me that feeling. Only the doing of the work is what gives you that feeling and that sense of I made a difference, I contributed. So keeping busy is a big part of how I cope, and just knowing that there's a lot I can still do. So yes, I'm hooked up to drips, need 24/7 care, can't go anywhere without an intensive care nurse, an assistance dog, IVs. You know, I can't do any of that, but I can go to an event and give a speech, and I can work on my laptop, and I can sit in a meeting and bring the lived experience, and I can deliver training. I can do things within my limitations to make a difference, to contribute. So don't ever think that you can't do anything. It's all about working within your limitations, working within your abilities, focusing on what you can do rather than what you can't, and finding your purpose, finding something that gives you that passion and that drive to want to live and to succeed and do things. That might be doing crafting, writing blogs, making videos, you know, volunteering for a charity, supporting, I don't know, rescues, donating to charity. There's so many different things that might be your driver in life to keep going and keep focusing and be motivated to go on. And for me, that's my work and my family and the things I can do. So just focus on the cans rather than the can'ts. You'll be surprised about how much you can do when that passion is burning inside you. I hope you found this video interesting. You know, leave your comments below if you've got any questions, or you want to ask me anything, or perhaps you want to share some of your experiences. You know, what helps you cope and what makes your life worth living. So let me know. You know, interact with this video. Please hit the thumbs up. You know, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you can see my videos when they're launched. And I just hope these YouTube videos can make a difference for other people. That's why I'm doing this. Taking these videos and making a difference for other people is a huge part of my core life purpose, and I want to enable that and facilitate that in as many ways as possible. And I hope today has been a good or an okay day rather than a bad day, and thank you for watching.